Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Jack's Business Talk. Today we have a very special guest, Brannon, built to built to rental.
B2R investing in financial talk, but it used to be build to rent, so I just shortened
th
it.
that's why it was throwing me off. It was like, and I was looking at your name, it was just like, wait, it's not built to wealth anymore.
Yeah. No, I thought I'd shorten it because I don't just do build to rent conversations.
But today you are.
But today I am. Yeah, you got it.
So today's topic is inspired by a Alex Hormozy video, completely on a different topic that he was talking about. He was talking about betterers and builders. And honestly, the video's been out for so long, I can't remember what he was talking about. But in real estate, I would be the betterer and Brandon would be the builder. So let's
Right.
go over the pros and cons of doing value add, the betterer or the builder.
And I would think both, I genuinely believe both have value. They're just a little different angle at it. Me looking at it from the build side, the reason I go that route is I absolutely love building from the ground up, designing all the floor plans. I do all the design to the floor plans. I do all the design, interior design. And to me, I love the blank slate. That's just where I'm at.
And you know what? Sam Zell made a comment with his book, Am I Being Too Subtle? I think is what it's called. And he made the comment that a lot of times builders, half of the value that they see in the property is not a monetary thing, but it's knowing, being able to appreciate how they did the layouts and how they did all that stuff. And that's half of what the builder is excited about.
Yes, I think I haven't heard it in that way, but you're exactly right. I love all the creation of it and figuring out little problems in a floor plan and creating making it better, making it flow better. I appreciate all of these little, if you call it niches that I create throughout the construction. And then to say, hey, 50 years from now, my grandchildren drive by, hey, my granddad built that property.
Yeah.
Those are special things, that it once was a piece of dirt and now I've created all this value in it that will be here for 50 years.
I think the other thing is with betters and builders is it depends on your market too. So like if
You're
you're
right.
in if you're in an older market, like let's say Pittsburgh, because I don't, if I can get out of the way, you see right there it says Pittsburgh, so you can guess where I'm at. But the houses are just so cheap that you're only saving potentially, like you can buy bare land to pound what you want for about 50 to $80,000. And it's very hard on some of these properties to do like what you do, where you split the property and you stick up two units. It's doable. And there is places in Pittsburgh you can do that and they make bank.
Right.
But a lot of times it's just you have a ton of older houses that, are going to be condemned and torn down. And people that are in my mindset, half of the value that we find is going in and just remodeling, gutting, and redoing the whole place. Now, some of the downsides are is we're exposed to a heck of a lot more stuff.
Yeah, I think you have, I would say, a little more challenges because you just don't know what you're going to find. That's a piece of
Hmm.
it. Each one's a little bit of a mystery of, okay, what are the things I didn't anticipate? But I'm sure as you've built more, you put in contingency in there. I feel like from my build side, I don't have as much contingency. Every now and then I'll have a small little thing I've got to figure out, but it's not as unknown what you're doing, but I will say we're on the same path financially because this is one of my discussions with Dion I've had, and what I wholeheartedly believe is if you want to get the wealth faster, the remodel, value add, or my build to rent are the fastest ways to build instant wealth quicker than just buying a regular resale and just getting the cash flow. I believe you can go after both. And that's what I wanted to do. I started when I was 48 and I said, how do I build the wealth faster? I grew up building all of my houses. My parents built every one of their houses, so I grew up around it. I had already built three houses myself and realized every build had equity in it. Well, why
Hmm.
wouldn't I keep doing it? I enjoyed it, had some contacts, I had relationships. I knew some of the local builders who had good reputations and began working those relationships and this it's matured since then. Each build I've gotten better at it. Now I'm pretty mature in what I'm doing and know the process. And I've been able to build about 20% every time, sometimes 22%, but around 20% every time. Well, that builds the wealth that much faster than just buying a resale property. Even if you might could get it at 5, 10% off of retail, I'm getting them brand new, don't have repairs for probably close to 10 years, which allows me to build up my reserves
Hmm.
that much faster. I've worked with a lot of property owners that do remodels, and I've seen still fairly consistently they have some repairs throughout the years because it's an older property. They still have some to where me, I've got one that's 4 years old. We haven't had a single issue yet. Well, that allows me to build up reserves. I might start at 7%, 7 to 8 is what I typically start at, where, on the resale side, even remodels, you probably need to start at the 15% or and have a probably 1 month at the beginning in a reserve account. It just allows me time to build up those reserves to when I finally need them at say year 7, 8, or 9, whatever that number is. I've got a huge Swan account already built up for all those. And what I do is I raise it about 1% every other year, or I've thought about even doing raising it by 0.5% every year. It still gets to that percent every other. And by the time I'm at year 8 or 9, I'm almost at 12%. But I've also had 7 years of very little expenses other than vacancy,
Hmm.
very little expenses. So that reserve account, I'm fully funded by about 5 years in. I've got a very good fund for every property. So I don't have to be kind of working from arrears of the expenses because I'm buying one resale that's 30 years old, 40 years old. Well, I don't have the reserves built up because I just purchased it. I'm able to build that up. And that's what I like about the build to rent model. That, and I'm considering, I want to leave this as wealth for my children's children. Well, if I'm handing these off to my children, say 30 years from now, well, they're only 30-year-old properties.
Yeah.
So I looked at all of this and I said, what are my natural talents? And build was something I'd already been a little bit familiar with. And so I went that route. Plus, I loved it. I loved the creation side of it.
Yeah, and to kind of just reiterate, I'll use myself as an example. But and the properties that I end up doing rehabs on, again, I shoot the equity up about 20 to 30% on average. But then like, the first thing I start with is with the outside because I like to make the outside as nice as I possibly can while
Yep.
I'm working just
Get
just the
that curb
landscaping,
appeal.
but just bare bones. Then I go inside, I knock out the remodeling, I redo the layout. And then as I'm trying to search for the first tenant, the first unit's done, I have the people come in and put on a new roof. Then I go do the second unit. And usually within the 5 years, I'll get a call about the furnace not working. And I just usually they're some old furnace. The one furnace I had was over 50 years old.
Wow.
I just had that replaced. Didn't even bother trying to get it repaired, which the HVAC people were actually kind of disappointed that they wanted to repair it. And they're like, it's only going to be $600. I was like, Yeah, but it costs $500 a month in gas.
Right? Right.
And
But you still get some creation. I can see on that strategy, you're still getting to put your personal touches on it.
mhm,
So you're still
there,
getting
there,
some of that feel.
there's nothing wrong with either one. I think it just depends on what your personality is and how your
Yes.
market is what it really comes down to.
Where the opportunities are, because
Yeah,
we've still got, here in Texas, we've got quite a bit of land and options, but it still is a challenge. I'm trying to stay ahead of it because it takes me from, an acquisition of a lot, and I'm buying infill lots. From moment I acquire it to final product when it's done and rented, it's about a 9-month process.
yeah.
So I've got to stay ahead of it, looking for the next dirt, kind of banking some of that dirt even before I need it so that I know where I go next.
Now I have been thinking a lot lately. Uh, a week or two ago, I had a thought, and this is kind of combining what I'm doing with what you're doing a little bit. But I'm starting to look for unofficial triplexes and fourplexes and stuff. And I forget who was talking about it. I would, if I had to guess, I would probably say Derek, the ADU guy. But
Right.
what I've been thinking about doing is trying to find these properties that are only a duplex. They just need remodeled, and it's not profitable enough to stick the third or fourth unit in it, and no one sees it. But with one permit, I could blast a hole in the wall, bring down some stairs, and the whole upstairs, the whole attic can now be another whole unit.
I have seen that. I'm actually managing a property that is that specific situation. Just what you're describing. So before I found an image of that property long time ago, a couple of decades ago, it was a one story. And what they did, they built on the top and built in a sense, like a second story, 2-bedroom unit above. They figured out how they could add that stairs up to that unit. So I have actually seen that. And what they're doing now is they're converting two 3-bedroom units into one, I call it like a studio type unit and a 2-bedroom. So they're doing two studios and two bedrooms and making it from a 3-unit property to a 5-unit property.
Hmm.
So they're taking it another step further. And it made sense when we did the walkthrough, the way that 1 bedroom was sectioned off, you could easily close that off and make it a studio. So we're in the middle of one that we're helping that owner. It didn't need major remodel, so we're I call it more, to me it's more minor remodel. Um, but we're doing some of that right now for another owner.
Yeah, and the best part is if the numbers run right, as like for example, like a duplex, you can sit on it and wait for the market to come around where the properties are too expensive, and then instead of sitting on your hands, dumping 30K into it and getting that third unit up and going.
And I've seen some, you were looking at properties to where maybe there's enough dirt to put survey it off and replat it and maybe be able to build another property onto it because it's just a bit extra big lot. I mean, those are opportunities too.
I'm trying to work with the township, the borough. They're kind of mad at me, so I need a new mayor to be elected. But I want to knock down the shed and stick another like a smaller ADU type of structure
Right.
up there. And I'm not saying the shed's huge, but if it's like the one tree's dying, I knock that down. I get rid of the hedges and knock the shed down. I measured it out. I'm still about 15 feet from the border line. I can stick a 20 by 20 building there, and that's all you would need for a one bedroom single family.
Like a studio. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, you look for those opportunities. I'm working on a video right now on the triplex that I built. So working with the city, we couldn't, because of the number of parking lots and just the offsets and all of that, we couldn't get a 4-unit property on there. So it was almost the size of a 3.5. And I'm thinking, how do I take that extra square footage and generate revenue off of it? So what I did is I made, of course, the 3-unit. These are townhouse style. So I did the 3 units, and I did a on that one common wall on one side. So I've already got that wall. I built 5 storage units. They were all 10 by 10 storage units. And of course, the city was looking for a way to tell me no, but they couldn't. I said, well, I'm offering these to my renters. It ended up costing around 20,000 for those 5 storage units, and I rent those out at $50 a unit. Now I ended up taking one of them. I need them. I need a storage unit for all my build projects, so I could
Hmm.
use that. But I rented the other 4. So if you look at, I know a lot of people don't like the 1% rule, but it's just a general idea of looking at it. If I spent 20,000 and I'm generating $200 in rent, it fits and it makes good sense. And so I took if I would have just not seen the bigger picture, I would have just built a 3 unit property. Well, in a sense, I built another unit just not being a unit. Plus the advantage, if those renters, and I've got a property on the other side of it, so I've got a fourplex and a triplex. I offer those rentals, those storage units to every one of my 7. Well, the more stuff they have sitting in those storage units, the less likely they move as fast.
Hmm.
The more stuff they have, the less they like to move. And it's convenient for them. They have an extra storage unit right beside them.
Yeah, yeah, you're saving people a trip across town or whatever.
Yeah.
They can just walk in their backyard.
Yep, that's exactly it. So it's a convenience, and I will do it again. I've got one more multifamily lot that I anticipate starting next year. I will do this same concept. Because it did take a while for them to get rented out, so it's not like instantaneous, but it's working now, and I will do the same triplex on this other lot and build probably 5 storage units because it saves money. I already have the common wall. So then I'm only adding the other 3 walls and a roll-up door. It
Hmm.
really wasn't that expensive to add that versus building it all freestanding and having to create all kinds of concrete around it. We just added one little drive, just a up and back, not a turnaround, and they can pull in there and if they need to with their stuff or and trucks and load it up or unload it into the storage unit. It really was a creative way of creating more revenue when the city was trying to create a tighter guideline. I guess I outmaneuvered them. So that's kind of what I'm doing.
So, how far out are you bu buying land to build on?
So I have a multifamily lot and I have 2 single family lots. So my anticipation, I've decided to get the multifamily next. Now I'm going to have to put some money into it. So I'm trying to save up using the current properties we have, saving up the money for the next, like you would call a down payment and closing costs on that project. I always figure about the way I do it because I get the lending based off of that full value. I'll have to put about 30,000 a unit to get it to that 70% loan to value when I finalize it for the permanent side. So I'm saving up that 90, doing that triplex first versus doing the 2 single families. I'm only adding 2 units. I know it might only be 60,000, but I want to get this triplex going first. I'm getting more doors faster. And so I'm deciding the triplex is next, then the single families after that. And I'm still looking for land for the projects after that. I'm figuring to get to about 25 units. At some point, I will take 5 of them, sell them, pay off the loans for 5 units, keep 20, 5 will be paid off, and the other 15 will be leveraged. So that's why I'm trying to get to 25 to eventually sell 5 to pay off 5 that I keep.
Cool.
So that's kind of my plan.
Sorry, I just realized that my collar's all screwed up. But
Uh,
yeah, that's the whole reason why. even like myself, my goal is to have like about 40 different, like 30 to 40 properties to basically kind of do the same thing, sell off some of the PIA ones and then pay off the good ones. And there's a couple that if the handyman business actually takes off and goes right, I might do what Dion tells you not to do. I might actually go pay them off.
Right.
And it's not because of the headache factor or anything like this. It's like there's less than 40,000 on two properties. Well, after I did the value add and everything, they're worth, I bought them at the time for like one was 67 and the other one was 75. The one at 75 is now worth about 135 after I was done with it.
Yeah.
And the one that's worth 67 is now worth 92. And I'll never quite get my money out of that one exactly. But by paying off the 40K, I can now take 50% out and go buy two more rental properties.
Right.
And that's kind of why I'm thinking. It's just like, well, to buy two more rental properties, I would need more than 40K. So it's kind of silly for me not to go that way.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking for me. I've heard that interview with Cody Davis. He bought a whole bunch of properties. Now he's realizing he wants newer properties. And so he's having to do a lot of 1031 exchanges and selling some of them to convert his portfolio to newer properties that he
Yeah.
says have less hassle. And so I've reached out to him. We've been talking. The beauty of what I'm doing, I don't have to worry about that. I've upgraded to the brand new. My oldest property is only 4 years old. I don't have to do that conversion cost because there are conversion costs. If
Mhm.
you're moving from one property into a newer property, there's going to be some conversion costs. I don't have to go through those conversion costs.
Yeah. I think Brian Adamson's also doing the same thing too.
I
I'm
didn't know that. Yeah. Okay.
I'm surprised Cody, he's in a good state to do build to wealth. I'm surprised he's not doing that.
Sorry. He said he has, sorry, I got choked up there. He said he has some land that is, sorry, I just really almost drowned. No, he said he has some land already. I don't know what portfolio that has a few townhouses on it that has some extra land beside it. And so he's going to start some of those, but I think he's wanting to convert more and more to the little bit newer properties.
Okay, yeah, yeah. And you know what? It makes sense too. Newer properties tend to have less problems like I don't know. I mean, for me, my newest one out of the whole fleet is 1910, I think, 1912.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
so, so you can imagine how, like, when you're tearing things apart, you can't just go into it because, like, you really have to pay attention to what you're doing. Because I ran into a situation with the one place I took off the LVP and I took off the vinyl. I took off the second, third, and fourth and fifth thing of vinyl, and then there's hardwood floors, and it still wasn't that like I had to get to the subfloor. Like it was crazy. It was like a foot deep of flooring.
Wow. Yeah, a lot of flooring. Wow. Mm.
So I eventually got to the subfloor and I started looking at it and it looked off. And I went to the wall and I started smashing the drywall because it was going to be ripped up anyway. And I realized that the build style was different than modern day, where unlike the stick builds that we do nowadays, where it's just straight up, the
Right.
flooring is actually holding the walls together. So I couldn't go through the subfloor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I almost made a very bad situation there very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, those are things I'm just not familiar with. Plus, your area is older than Texas area. So
Hmm.
even our old stuff is not near as old as Pennsylvania stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the properties around here, you'll have a few in the early 1900s, but it's very few and far between.
Yeah.
Most of the properties are built in the 60s. You might have a few in the 50s, but it's late 50s and newer. That's most of the stock here, plus the new subdivisions. But our old stuff's 50s, 60s age is what most of them are.
Yeah, you'll see them all over the place. You have brand new stuff, you have old stuff. It depends on where at in the city you are.
Yeah,
And if you're willing to go slightly out, you'll see a lot more newer stuff.
right. Yep. And so that's, I was presented. So how this happened, it was I'm driving to work and I get a call from someone. Now I was in real estate sales. So I had a real estate sales team and this guy calls me, says, "Hey, I've got these three lots. I've got to put them on the market and I'll pay you 10% to sell them." So I'm like driving to work and I'm like, "Hey, that's exactly where I'm going." He was telling me where they were and I said, "Well, let me look at them." And that's the lots I ended up purchasing from him, those three lots, and they were all zoned. Well, two are still zoned single family. One was zoned like a commercial, light commercial, retail type zoning, but it was all fourplexes around it, so it didn't have the correct zoning it needed to be. So I was willing to go through the process, getting them rezoned what they should have been, multifamily. The city agreed with me, so it was a really easy conversation, and we got all those restructured. That was back in 19. Then started construction. My very first properties were in 2020. So that was a very scary time. I'm in the middle of two constructions, first two that I've ever done. And here COVID happens, and you're thinking, oh crap, am I about to go bankrupt? What's about to happen? You know, it of course worked itself out, and I wished I would have had 10 of them at that moment, because those were built at a fairly reasonable price, a little bit less than what I'm building them now and got through that. So they both went live in 21, a fourplex and a short-term rental down by the beach here in Texas. But I learned, and every time you build one, I mean, first time you're learning a whole lot, but I had gone through the biggest learning curves was from building my own houses. So I'd been through three of them, so I'd learned the heaviest learning curves had already happened
Mhm.
from building my own houses. So the others are just slight. Every build, I learned something new, but it wasn't, if I'm learning everything 50, 70% on the first build, I'm learning 5, 10% now, 5%, little nuances of, oh, I didn't know that. Now I understand that. So I was able to do that. I would build it different. First build, it works. I would call it a base hit. If I did it again, I would do it significantly different. I did it 2 units on top, 2 units on bottom. If I would have done it again, I had the land. I should have done townhouse style. There's less noise complaints. I think it actually more people like it that way. They're not having to go up the stairs all the time. So, you learn every build, even right now, I've done four single families in the last year. Each floor plan, though they were the similar floor plan, I tweaked it every time. And by the third time, I feel like I had it pretty perfected
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
little times because each time you're learning, oh, I see how that doesn't flow well. I made this adjustment. I do one more. Now I can see this other adjustment I need to make. And so you get better each time. And now I'm at the point I've got the floor plan. These next two single families, it's literally just a rinse and repeat. We're just doing the same thing, same build, same colors, same everything. We know what we're going to do and we just go to it. And so that does make it convenient. You don't have any unknowns now. I mean, you
Yeah.
just like rinse and repeat. Let's build it again. Even their contractors, they like it because it's the same framer. He knows how to frame it. He knows what we're doing. The same painter, the same electrician, the same HVAC company. We just, everything. You just dial it in and just move forward. It's less unknowns. Down to my contingency on these $200,000 builds is $3,000. That's all I leave in contingency
Huh.
because we have it so dialed in. We know exactly what the costs are going to be.
Yeah, I don't have it that dialed in, but I do know like when I walk into a place, there's certain things I'm looking for. Like I don't want to see knob and tube coming out of the breaker box, for example.
Right. Exactly.
And I look for, the PAX plumbing because that means I don't have to mess with the plumbing.
Yep.
And then I know, okay, it's just a lipstick remodel. And and at that point, I'm looking to see where can I add walls? Where can I take walls out? Where can I?
How can you open it up, make it more of a modern floor plan?
Hmm. And after that, it's just okay. Here we go. I usually do the gray with the white trim, and I'll paint the cabinets usually white. And then I don't like the doors half the time. So being I worked in a cabinet shop and I have all the blades and I have most of the tools, I take them all down. I go buy cabinet grade wood and I cut new doors and I slap them on. And what I really like to do is I'll insert glass in the middle of it,
Okay.
and then I do that country style where it's like like the box frame. They put like the little flat piece of wood in.
Yep.
It's the same style, but I'm using running glass in the middle of it, and I do the slow close doors and
Yep. Soft
stuff,
close. Yep.
the
Soft
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 close,
close hinges. Hmm.
and I'm waiting to do this on my next build. I'm thinking about painting the either the boxes kind of like I call it colonial green, just like that. There's a lot of different.
Colonial green, is that what you said?
Yeah, it's like a light bluish green.
Okay. More of a heritage color type from
Yeah,
Sherwin-Williams in the heritage, because I've got one of those color wheels and they have a heritage section where you can look at some more traditional coloring from the colonial era.
yeah, yeah. So a green like that, and I want to paint the doors white with the running glass. And I think they're going to really pop. Or I'm going to do white cabinets, and I'm going to just do a clear stain on the wood and with the running glass.
Well, that glass really dresses it up.
Hmm. And
Yeah,
it costs like next to nothing, and people don't realize that.
the things that I do on we're using shaker style. Shaker is in right now, but they're actually not that expensive to build. Now they're kind of a put together cabinet, but they're very well done put together. And we have a master carpenter that he handles doing that. So it's done solid.
Hmm.
And then with shaker style, I do add undermount cabinet lights. It's not that expensive, but it dresses up the lighting. And I think people like that dressed up lighting. I found some open shelving. I found a company. I call it the company's name is called Urbandi. It's a really good one for some decorative wood, and so I've got two open shelves, and this is wood that's 4 inches thick and distressed, but the mounting on the walls is it comes with it all together, the mounting bracket, and it mounts on the wall very solid. It was actually $20 cheaper than what we were doing with before. And our mounting brackets, we'd have to buy them separate and they still weren't hung very well. So I found that company and it dresses up the kitchen when you find stuff that's 4 inches thick versus the just regular 2 inch type thick wood
Hmm.
that you find in most of the lumber places. And it's already distressed and it's already stained with all the mounting system. I actually save those few dollars, but it looks even 10 times better. So it's just
Yeah,
those little things that you can do that it has one cost, but it has a much more perceived value that even the renter's looking for. And I've been able to beat out a lot of these, even other newer constructions that are renting out. because they're saying, wow, I can tell they don't know it's me. And they're like, I can tell somebody really put a lot of thought and effort in this house. There's all this custom stuff, though they know I'm just doing the same thing every time, but to them it's very custom looking, but they have a much more higher perceived value on it than what it really cost me to do.
Hmm.
And it's very durable stuff.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like you would think glass is weak, but the running glass, I'm buying it like close. I think it's like close to a half, like 3/8 thick. It's a little bit
That's
harder to
thick.
break.
Yeah, that's thick. Yeah. So you're doing some of the similar stuff. I love the create. I've designed every house we've ever built, and I got that from my mother. She designed all of our houses. So I will get out graph paper and literally draw it because I know the distance is what things need to be, and I'll sit there and put it down, and then I'll get it over to a draftsman or an architect or something like that. But I've drawn it out, and then I hand them to make it an official drawing so we can get the bids on lumber and the appropriate bids from the different trades. But I enjoy that. And I will look at floor plans online. I watch, Magnolia Channel, HGTV. I'm watching different designs. I found one on Pinterest. One of my designs is what I'd seen was a little in front of the stove, um, a niche built in right above the stove so that people could put their spices right in front of the stove. And
Mm,
it was a we used 2x6, so you have a bigger ledge, and we made it not fully wide as the stove, not the 30 inches, but it was about a 24-inch niche, dressed it up. Now we didn't put one time we put decorative glass, decorative tile in there. The other times we haven't. But just the little niche of adding that for a spice. I've had many people make a comment and compliment on it. But I'd seen that in Pinterest. So I'm always looking at different ideas of my wife even saw it and she loved it. She wished we had it. So just looking for little things that don't add a lot of cost, but it's very user friendly. So then they can put all their basic spices right above their stove and it's right there instead of having to build a custom cabinet to put in spice. Well, that's going to cost a whole lot. We're not going to do that. But that gives it a little bit of that feel.
yeah. I know something I did once, and it didn't cost me anything other than just time. I wanted an accent wall, but like this one, it was my place I was working on. It had a wall that was jutting in about, I don't know, probably about 2 feet. I'm thinking it's like an old fireplace that's for downstairs, and
Right.
chimney ran through the upstairs. But the fireplace for the upstairs was on the other side of the house. It was a very weird house.
Huh.
So anyway, I was just like, it looks so goofy, and like it was laughed and there was stucco on it. I was like, oh, well, I'm not pulling off with the drywall. I was like, what are my options here? So I painted the chimney black or like the stucco,
Yeah.
and then I ran 2x4s all the way up. Even though I probably could have got away with 1x3s, all the way up and hooked them into the joists and screwed them down into the joists of the floor. And I did that all the way around. And after I took a torch and like burn it and clear
Yeah.
coat it over.
Yeah.
And then I got a bunch of pallets from work and I sand them down real nice and smooth, ran through the plane after removing all the nails. And I would either stain them real dark, I stain them real light. I hit some with a torch and I would. And I just hodgepodged them all together.
But it makes it a decorative feature. Yeah.
Yeah. And I purposely left gaps and I ran like uh, LED Christmas lights or whatever you call for like those rope ones you see for weddings.
Yep.
I ran those up and down throughout the thing and you could turn it on, turn it off. And so many people have complimented and be like, "Oh my gosh, I've seen this, but I never quite like this way. It looks so nice." The people who live there now loved it so much they put what do you call like those fake viney stuff all throughout it too.
Right. Right. Yeah, I do that on every one of my houses that I'm renting. I'm looking for some little decorative feature that makes it feel like a home.
Hmm.
If it's just a straight white box, you might get it rented, but you're not going to get the best rents, and it's not going to be as attractive. I'm looking for every property to build curb appeal. That was the mistake I made on my fourplex. The design doesn't have curb appeal. If I had to, everything after that property, I learned you have to have curb appeal. That's what helps you. If it doesn't, it hurts you.
Yeah, the first unit I ever flipped, I kept the brown trim. Everything was like the chimney or the fireplace was brown, the mantle was brown. But then I had the bright idea to paint everything else white. White
Right,
cabinets, white walls, white. If it wasn't brown, it turned white.
right,
And I walked in there after the tenants got evicted, and surprisingly, they left them in very good shape. I was looking around, it's just like, no wonder why they forgot to pay the rent for 3 months. It's like I drove them crazy with looking at all this white. I was like, it looks like an asylum.
right, right. Yeah. We had an eviction late recently, and I walked in, I think it was last week. I don't understand it. I mean, there was a definite serious something happened, and she lost her job. So we tried to be even nice through the eviction. She left it in perfect condition. And that was a not, I mean, literally put the sign, it's ready to go. That we were so surprised, mopped everything. I mean, it was walking
Mhm.
through, I was in shock that you don't expect that in an eviction. It was ready to go, fully cleaned, everything, and those are nice surprises.
Yeah, this was just a bad mine was just a bad scenario. I guess from what I gathered, okay, it everything was going fine, and then he wanted an out, and he just wasn't paying rent, waited for me to file for eviction, and then he took off.
Right.
And he stole all the money for their next house and all that kind of stuff. And it was just I was like, well, you can still stay. I was like, I'll just get an attorney to remove him. She's like, I can't afford it on my own.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, this one she just lost her job and she didn't have any contacts to get a full-time job. We got to eviction twice. We got to the first one almost to the eviction court. She ended up making us whole. This one, she just couldn't do it. And I understand where she's at. She was actually as nice as someone could be through the process. She just didn't have a job. There was nothing she
Hmm.
could do.
Yeah,
You just never know.
stuff happens.
Yep. But that's it. I'm a big proponent for me of the build to rent, but you have to have the contacts. It's all, I am using a GC contractor. So I've got a contractor for my builds, so I just handle small little pieces of it so that I can be looking for my next project. He's doing the actual hard work. I look at it if what is the cost opportunity cost? He's putting in 300 plus hours into the project, makes 15, $20,000. I'm putting maybe 40 hours into it, and my profit from the appraisal and everything, I'm making 60, 70,000 on 40 hours. And I'm just looking, that's the best thing for me. Keep going, build more projects, work on my 40 hours instead of working on the 300 to save the 15 grand. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's part of what gets in the way for me is I just enjoy seeing the work quality that I can do and put forth, and that's kind of why I'm stuck doing the value add stuff.
Yeah. I'm just looking what's my most efficient. That's just how I've been groomed. I'm looking at what
Hmm.
even in our property management business. The only thing I do is the sales side, is bringing in the initial owner. I talk to them and then I hand them off after that. I don't do the work after that because what is the most valuable thing I can do in my hours is the acquiring of the new properties. And so I'm talking to the owner, but I can talk to them on an even playing field. I'm talking owner to owner.
Yeah,
Here's how I built this company. Here's the whys of all the people, what I'm trying to produce for us owners. I hired Christy because I'm wanting her to manage my properties. So it's more of a peer-to-peer conversation, and I can and genuinely believe that, and I can create that. And then I'm like, they'll ask me specific questions. I'm like, oh, I don't know. You're not hiring me, you're hiring Christy. That's just how I do it. I'm like, hey, yeah, I'm handing you up. I'm not the expert on that. Let me get you to my property manager. She has more expertise than I do. And so it's not a handoff. It feels like a hand up. I'm getting you now to the expert, not me. Though I do know things, but she knows things that I don't, because she's been doing it for 20 years.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us
Yeah,
in this
I'm
episode.
glad you asked.
Yeah, it was good catching up with you since Vegas too.
Yes, it has been a while.
All right, and until next time, what you guys have made it this far? Well, you need to go subscribe to his channel.
That's right. That's right.
What's your channel again? Because I was called to Build a Wealth again.
That's right. My channel's B2R Investing in Financial Talk.
So if you made it this far, you need to go subscribe and watch his content and see how to make more money than what I'm doing.
No, we all do it. You're doing a great job too. What you just described on a couple of your properties, for sure.
We'll see you guys next time.